Hey, welcome. Thanks for watching. My name is Richard Worley with System X Designs. I've been in digital marketing for the better part of 20 years. And over the course of that time, digital marketing as an entire service has changed pretty dramatically. Even in the last few years, Google has made a lot of different updates which have changed the way the businesses get found online. And today I want to talk about the importance and the processes behind local SEO. We work with a lot of local businesses, and I don't necessarily mean small businesses, I mean businesses that rely on local clients and customers. So the geographic region is very important. The idea of digital marketing and search engine optimization used to be that everything happened on your website, and we would use properties like a Google business property or a Google business profile to power up that website. And now all that's kind of flipped on its head because of some of the changes that Google has made. So the focus of today's presentation is to talk about how Google can help local businesses get found by clients and customers in their area that are looking for their product or service. And we're going to take a look at some examples. First, I want to start out with a way overplayed joke in the SEO world, which is, what's the best place to hide a body? And the answer is the second page of Google, because nobody ever looks there. So I'm going to minimize my face here. You probably already knew this and might not have even known that you knew it, but depending on what you search for, Google will return a different template for a search engine result page. You will hear that called a SERP, search engine result page. So if I search for tree removal service in Athens, Georgia, I'll get one kind of layout that has, businesses as an example. But if I search for how to tie shoes, I get a completely different templated layout. For today's presentation, we're going to focus on the one that pertains to local businesses, which is the one that has the Google Maps pack in it. And it has three primary sections. The first section is your paid ads. Everybody's familiar with these. It says sponsored up near them. They're not always present, but in populated areas, they generally are. And something to note, when they are present, they get about 19% of the click-through rate. In other words, almost 20% of all the clicks, if there's ads on a page, almost 20% of the clicks from that result page go through one of the options in the ads. And by the way, these aren't numbers I'm making up. These come from data aggregators who do a ton of these huge studies to get these averages. The local SEO, or the Maps pack, which includes your three business listings, it gets about 52% of those clicks. In your organic SEO, which is commonly identified by like page 1 has 10 and then page 2, Google's recently changed that to go to a continuous page without the pagination, but your organic results get about 29% of the click-through rate. That doesn't mean that result 1 gets all of the 29%. It just means that anything in the options of the organic listings gets about 29%. So think about it like this. This gets about 20, this gets about 30, this gets about 50. So for today's presentation, we're going to focus on the one that gets the most. So this is an actual search engine result page for forklift rental near me, which we're going to use for some heavy equipment. I've zoomed it out for illustration. This is a real screenshot. And note that there's three main parts. There's the sponsored ad. That's your paid ad section. Gets about 19% of the clicks. This is your business listings, or what we'll call the Maps pack. And then this is your organic listings down here. So that kind of puts a real face on it, so to speak. So for today's conversation, we're going to focus on this Maps pack area because it gets the majority of the clicks. You will hear us call that the Maps pack or the 3-pack because it has three businesses in it. So one more thing to note. See this line right here? This is what we call the fold. I've obviously zoomed way out so that you can see this. And on the next screenshot, I'm going to show you what it would look like if I wasn't zoomed out. But basically, this fold represents what I can see on my screen before I have to scroll. And you'll note that the importance of this is because as this section has changed in layout, and if there's more ads present, it pushes down everything in here. So that's why I was saying that because of some of the changes in the way that Google represents the results, this is becoming less and less valuable to local businesses, and these two sections are becoming more and more valuable. So if that's the fold, then when I'm not zoomed out in a real view, this is what I see before I have to scroll down. So this is without any zoom on it. If I just search for forklift rental near me, I see one ad, three businesses, and then I have to scroll down to see anything below the fold. And by the way, If more ads are present, if I just search for that again or hard refresh it and I get more than one ad, you'll see that it can even push the 3-pack way down, which pushes the organic results way at the bottom of the page. So the importance here is to note that the two sections, the paid ads and the maps pack, are vitally important because they are taking up the majority of the real estate on the landing page for any search engine result where businesses are included. So how do we go into that 3-pack? How do we get ourselves in here? And one thing to note, you've got 3 businesses, and down here, this more places. This is kind of like that second page of Google. It's where all businesses go to hide. So this 3-pack is vitally important, but let's put some monetary value to it. What's it worth? Well, we don't have to guess at that. We can quantifiably arrive at some answers. There's software that Google provides us, like keyword planning tools, that gives us analytics regarding search volumes. In other words, how many people are searching for a term in a specific area. So I just took a couple of examples. And I looked for scissor lift rental for Conyers, Georgia, mini excavator rental in Foley, Alabama, and a forklift rental in Smyrna, Tennessee. And this is how many people on average search for per month. Now, Google provides this not because they just want us to have a lot of data, but it's because they want you to buy ads. And so it allows you to see what the search volume is. And I did some research and found out that for scissor lift rentals in Conyers, Georgia, mini excavators and forklift rentals in these areas, the average individual value, so like the average scissor lift rental in Conyers, Georgia, is worth about $350. The average mini excavator rental is $2,200. I don't pretend to think that this is going to be important to a lot of people watching this video that aren't in heavy equipment, but consider your service. What is the lifetime value of somebody searching for your service? If you're an accountant, what is the lifetime value of somebody? It's probably over $2,500. If you're in tree removal, what's the average lifetime value of that customer? Well, if you've ever had trees removed, you know you can't get much done for less than $1,500, $2,500, and it goes way up from there. So all I'm wanting you to think about is the lifetime value of a client based on the search term. And so to arrive at this value, then what we need to agree on is that anybody searching for this is a potential customer. Now, I understand some people might search more than once, and I understand that you're definitely not going to get all 490 of these people, but it just tells us what the opportunity value is. And we know that in the maps pack that it normally gets 52% of the clicks. So if we did some quick math on that, we could see that 490 people times $350, that's $171,000 as the overall search term. Now, if 52% of those are going through the maps pack, well, that maps pack is worth about $89,000 per month. And so let's expand out on that, right? So the reason that becomes important is because this puts a monetary value on that maps pack. And when business owners start thinking about that, it really gives them a reason to understand how important it is to their business. Again, this doesn't mean that you're going to get all 600 of the people searching, but it just tells you that that maps pack on average is worth $624,000 a month in that area for that term. That's almost $7.5 million a year that's in possible revenue going through that maps pack just for that term, just in that area. So the 3-pack is vitally important, right? Well, we have some software tools that, kind of like what we just looked at, gives us search volumes, will also tell us search result position based on the proximity, or in other words, based on where somebody's searching from. So here's an example for Conyers, Georgia. So if this software, it provides an analysis of our share of local voice, which basically just means the percentage of the time where you're within the top 3. So let me walk you through that. This is the center point on the map is where the actual business is. So in this case, if somebody searched for scissor lift rental near me in Conyers, Georgia, well, if they were standing at that latitude and longitude coordinates, then the business that I ran through this particular software would rank number 1. But if they moved over here and they searched, we would be number 5. We wouldn't be in the 3-pack anymore. And that's what these numbers represent. We want all these to be green because green is 1, 2, or 3. And then as you get into 4, 5, you're in 4, 5, and 6, you start getting into shades of yellow and then down into the red. This can happen for multiple different reasons. One, you see there's a pretty dramatic drop here from 4 to 10. Well, there might be a competitor sitting right there. There might be 2 across the street from each other, and it's just pushing our results way down. But what this represents is a way to quantifiably judge what are our opportunity levels for getting in that 3-pack in certain areas. And it's very specific. There's a direct latitude and longitude coordinate associated with each one of these, and allows us to figure out what we can do to improve our local visibility. So we call that share of local voice, and basically it just represents, out of these nodes, what percent of the time are we in the top 3, and that's how much opportunity we have in that 3-pack. So what would that be worth? Well, let's consider our share of local voice of what it might currently be, and then what would happen if we just improved it by 15%. So we're going to take our original values, and we ran some grids for these businesses that we chose. For the protection of the businesses, we're obviously not going to share their private information, but what we found was their share of local voice was 23%, 79%, and 0%. $624,000 in opportunity going through the 3-pack. Every month, they're getting 0 of it because for this search term, that particular business wasn't to be found anywhere. So they were in the top 3 on any of the nodes. What can we do to help? Mini excavator rental, Foley, Alabama. They have a share of local voice, 79%. That's really good, right? That's $372,000 in opportunity. They're not going to get all of it, but they have the opportunity to get some of it. And then you see $20,000 a month. But just with a 15% increase in our share of local voice, that's what we'd have the opportunity to do. So if you're this business, $624,000, you're currently eligible for about 0 of it because nobody can find you. A 15% increase in the share of local voice, you're almost at $100,000 a month in revenue just from local SEO. Going from 372 to 427, going from 20 to 23. The gains here are opportunities that you can invest in to be found by people searching for your product or service in your local area. So, how do we get into this 3-pack? How do we work our way into it? And by the way, the businesses that I'm talking about, I purposely did not choose any near me. So these screenshots do not represent any of the businesses that any of these statistics are on. I just want to throw that out there as a disclaimer. So how do we get into this 3-pack? Well, we have to prove 3 core concepts to Google all the time. We have to prove to them that we are who we say we are, we do what we say we do, and we do it where we say we do it. And Google uses ranking signals to determine the best options to recommend to users. See, Google doesn't want to just be a search engine. It wants to be a recommendation engine. And if it's recommending a business, it wants to recommend something that it thinks the user is going to like, because then the user will go back to Google, etc. So, Google uses ranking signals to determine the best options to recommend to users. And these 3 categories, these concepts that we're proving to Google, that's what really goes into it. So let's talk through that. 1, proximity by category plus competition. What does proximity mean? Well, remember those nodes? How close to the business are you? If you search for something near me, the more near you are to it, the better the chance the business is going to rank. So proximity by category and competition. By category, what do I mean by that? Well, if I say best pizza near me, Google probably doesn't think that I want to go get a $5 slice of pizza 2 hours away. But if I search for something that's a much larger opportunity, like if I search for a bankruptcy attorney, a personal injury attorney, it knows that the dollars that are being spent are significantly higher in that category, so it might stretch the proximity out a little bit. And how do we give these signals? Well, we can give on-page signals, which are content, our descriptions, our keywords, page structure, URL structure, schema markup. It gets really nerdy really quickly, but basically here's what it breaks down to. For our on-page and off-page signals, which we'll go through in a second, we want to always say who we are, what we do, and where we do it. Who we are is authority, your brand authority. How much do people know about you? How much in a conversation are you? It's how much authority Google assumes you have. What you do is validated by contextual relevance. It's the service or product you provide. Where you do it is geographic relevance. And we can get contextual and geographic relevance a lot in our on-page signals. And our off-page signals are things like ratings and reviews, our backlinks, user engagement, which is like click-through ratios, your mobile clicks to call, search history, etc. And what does that mean? Like user engagement signals are if somebody's leaving you positive reviews, That's an A plus user engagement signal. If I had this come up, how many people click the second or third one versus the first one? If the first one is getting a lot of the clicks, it has a high click-through ratio, Google assumes that it's very relevant, and that will help it. It's a user engagement signal that happens off page, right? That's kind of how we work on getting into the 3-pack. And then once we're in the 3-pack, the goal is to improve our online presence and visibility by stretching the proximity or the geographic reach, or by stretching the number of keywords that we show up for. And that's how we're really going to get huge gains in the amount of revenue that we're generating every month.